Hello, and welcome to Eastern Illinois University's Renewable Energy Center virtual tour. I'm Ryan Siegel, the Campus Energy and Sustainability Coordinator for EIU. I want to welcome you this morning to the Renewable Energy Center that provides all the heat for the university. Inside in just a little bit, we'll head into our conference room, which is where we'll welcome our campus community as well as our general population for tours here at the Renewable Energy Center. This room will serve as part one of the next phase of this project, which will be to construct the Center for Clean Energy Research and Education just to the north of this plant. And that will house the new business incubator, classroom facility, and laboratory facility that our new academic programs will be housed in, including a new minor and new master's program in sustainable energy. Let's head on in. Thank you. Well, welcome to the Renewable Energy Center. This facility was constructed through a guaranteed energy performance contract. This facility, along with 22 other energy conservation projects across campus, were installed just within the last few years. The total project cost was $80 million, and this pays for itself in a period of just 20 years. So without having to raise our tuition dollars or having to request additional money from the state, we were able to provide this facility along with other improvements across the campus. This facility provides all the steam needs for campus, as well as about 10% of the electrical demand for campus. Here at the site, this is a biomass gasification site, which is a two-stage combustion process. Is the first stage, we heat and cook the fuel in a low oxygen environment, which produces a synthetic natural gas. And then in the second stage, we add additional air and burn that synthetic natural gas. This allows for a much cleaner burning facility as well as a much more fuel flexible facility. We'll discuss the fuel later on as far as the various types and potentials. But this facility is also registered with the United States Green Building Council and their Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design program. This is the first solid fuel power plant in the nation to be registered with that program, and we're currently on target to receive a gold rating, which is one below the top. So for a first in the nation and for a first lead project here at Eastern Illinois University, we are setting that bar very high. One of the features of the facility we were very cognizant of is, due to its size, the rainwater coming from the stormwater management became very critical. And so we have installed a 3,000 gallon storage tank underground, which captures rainwater from the facility and actually feeds a water feature and pond out in front of the plant. This facility is a cogeneration plant, so we produce both heat and power at this facility. This also has two 10 kilowatt solar arrays on the south end of the facility. As part of this project, we designed but did not install a university wind farm. Those windmills would have paid for themselves over the 20-year contract, including the 12-mile industrial duty extension cord. However, due to the questionability of borrowing that additional dollars, that project was placed aside for future development. Mentioned earlier that this project was provided through a performance contract. What this does is the university borrows money, installs various equipment that saves utility dollars. Those utility dollars are redirected to pay off that debt. As part of this, there's also the design company, or our partner firm, in this case Honeywell International, that provides all the modeling and also the performance guarantee. So they provide a guarantee that over the 20-year life of the project, that this facility and all the projects will pay for themselves, including the cost of financing. In addition to this, we required Honeywell to take out an insurance policy against that as well. And then the university also took out an insurance policy against the failure of Honeywell. While we don't anticipate any of these potential failures to occur, we always wanted to make sure that we had a backup plan in case anything were to happen, similar to like General Motors, who went bankrupt. So let's head on out and take a look. This is kind of the end of the public area of our operating plant with our washrooms. Further back in the plant, we also have a locker room, shower facility, and laundry facility for our operators. With this plant, because we do have operators here on site 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they are doing all the maintenance on the plant itself, we need to provide a room for our operators to clean up once they are done for the day. Here we have our chief engineer's office. At this facility we have our chief operating engineer, as well as 10 operators and an instrument technician. The chief operating engineer, as well as the other 10 operators, were the same people that we had back at our old 1925 coal burning facility. EIU burned its last ton of coal on December 14th of 2010 after over a century of burning coal on our campus. So that provided about 6 months worth of training time for our operators on this new facility. The location here for the Renewable Energy Center was built on the far southeast corner of our campus. When the original 1925 steam plant was constructed, it was built as well on the far southeast corner of campus. This facility is about a mile southeast of the original steam plant, and so our campus has grown substantially. The coal burning facility had experienced numerous failures over time, and parts were extremely difficult to find, if you even could find them. So in the event that we had a system fail, we had to literally go manufacture a part, which was not only time consuming, it was also very expensive. So by having a new facility, we have the ability to actually get spare parts if we do have something break down on us. So let's go on out to the plant floor. Here on the boiler floor, off to our side here, we have our water treatment area. Because we are producing electricity here, we have very specific water quality requirements that we have to maintain, as well as from this facility, our steam leaves to the basement of the old steam plant, which is roughly a mile away. Then it goes out onto campus for about 2.5 miles and then makes a return trip. So we have to maintain that water chemistry across 7 miles of piping. So that requires very strict standards. Here at this facility, we also have a water testing lab, so we can make sure that we are maintaining those water quality standards. This boiler behind me is one of 4 boilers we have here on site. We have 2 that are biomass gasifiers, and then 2 that are natural gas with a fuel oil backup. Of the 4 boilers in the middle of winter, the university only requires 2. So that way we have 3 levels of fuel redundancy here, no matter what time of year it is. This was extremely important to us because this facility serves over 3 million square feet of campus. If this plant fails to operate, then it could close the university. There are few things at a university that can have that magnitude of impact. So that was extremely important for us to build in redundancy. This boiler behind me, as I mentioned, is natural gas and fuel oil. This one generates 50,000 pounds an hour or roughly 50 million BTUs, compared to your home furnace of about 80,000 BTUs. So this is several hundred times larger than your home unit. And we have 2 of these similar units here on site. So let's go take a look at where the condensate comes in. This is where the steam leaves the plant going out to campus. This is a 14-inch steam main that goes out to our campus. And then we also have a condensate return. Most of the heat that is in steam, it is located in that phase change from a gas vapor back to water. So we provide that phase change for the campus. Once it condenses, it is pumped back here to this facility. Because, as noted earlier, we have several miles of piping, and when you send steam out, you don't get the condensate back immediately. We have 2 tanks. One is located here at this facility, and one is located in the basement of the old steam plant. Those 2 tanks provide a buffering to the system, so when demand changes on campus, we have a place to draw the water from, and as demand decreases, a place to store that water to provide a buffer to the system. So let's head on into our electric room. This is the incoming electric for the facility. Here we have 2 different utility feeds coming into the plant, and we also have the ability to tie those together. So in the event of loss of one of our utility feeds coming into this plant, we tie the system back together and continue to operate. This goes back to that redundancy that I was talking about earlier, where in this facility, typically whenever you need 1 item, we'll normally have 2, or if you need 2, you have 3, or in the case of our boilers, we need 2 and we have 4. And this is to maintain this facility operational no matter what we run into, which was extremely important to us. So let's head out and see the other boiler. This boiler behind me is the second natural gas and fuel oil boiler that was installed at this plant. This boiler was purchased early in the project and installed back at the old steam plant to provide reliability, because even the newest boiler in the old facility was over 40 years old. Typical lifespan for a boiler is only 30 years. So we weren't sure that we could maintain the steam going out to campus in the meantime while this facility was getting built. So this boiler was purchased and installed early, and then just a few weeks ago was brought over to this facility. Now, one nice thing that this provided was, because typical construction, you install your large pieces of mechanical equipment first, then you construct your building around it. So then later, when you have to replace that, you have to take a wall down in order to get the equipment back out. Since this was purchased early, they had to leave a place for this boiler to come into the plant. So that way, in about 30 years, when it's time to replace this boiler, we have a way to get this boiler, as well as other pieces of equipment, back out of this facility. So that's one of those features that's not typically built into new construction. So let's head on into our instrument shop and control room. This is our instrument tech shop. Early on, we identified this as a need because a new facility is highly automated and highly instrumented. We needed a dedicated location for our instrument technician to bring instruments back and do calibration and also programming modifications to the system as we move forward. One other thing you will notice about this plant is just about anywhere that you're in the plant, you do have a view to the outside, which not only was part of that LEED program, but also makes for a much more inviting work environment as well. So let's head on over to the control room. So this is the control room. We have 2 operator stations, as well as in the middle is our thermal imaging cameras. Because the gasification process, parts of it take place outside the visible spectrum, we use infrared cameras to monitor those processes. One other thing with these is, where in older plants you had operators going around reading one gauge, making an adjustment, reading another gauge, making an adjustment, and so on. This allows our operators to view any gauge out throughout the plant, as well as make modifications and changes to the valves out on the facility, so we can get a system-wide picture and make system changes, which is much more effective, as well as provides for a much cleaner operation without having as much labor. As was noted earlier, we have very few people that actually operate this facility. In order to maintain 2 operators here 24 hours a day requires 8.5 people, and we only have 10 operators for this plant. So we don't have a whole lot of excess. Those operators are also required not only to operate the plant, but also do any required maintenance for this facility as well. So let's head on into where our network comes in. This is kind of the brains of the plant. We do have a few of these cabinets located around the plant that house our programmable logic controllers, or mini computers. In one of these cabinets you can fit over 100 of these mini computers. So with all the instrumentation and automation and all these computers, we do have a substantial UPS to provide backup power while we wait for the generator to come back online. We also house the incoming campus network, as well as the security cameras for the facility. Since we are generating electricity here on site, we do have our protective relaying cabinet behind me, which in the event that we lose utility power, we isolate ourselves from the grid to prevent us from backfeeding power back to the grid and accidentally killing a lineman who's trying to restore power to our facility. So let's head out and take a look at the other gasifiers. Behind me is one of our gasifier units, one of 2 we have here on site. The piece of equipment directly behind me is actually the first stage of emission controls, where we have a cyclone particle separator that spins the airstream. Dirt goes to the outside and falls out, similar to your household vacuum cleaner, just sized up a few hundred times. We have a economizer here, which is a radiator where the hot exhaust gases pass across this radiator, and we provide the feed water going into the boiler through the middle of this radiator to get more of the BTUs from the combustion process into that water to get it to steam. The more heat we can get into the water, the more efficient the process is, and therefore the cheaper the process is to operate. The red box that we have further back here is the actual gasifier itself. In order to have complete combustion, you need heat, fuel, and oxygen. In this box, we deprive it of oxygen to the point where it just smolders, and we add enough additional just to keep the process moving. This is where we actually produce the synthetic natural gas that is burned in the next stage. There is then a connecting tube between the gasifier and a natural gas boiler, similar to the natural gas boilers on the other side of the plant. And in that connecting tube, we add additional air. So now you have heat, fuel, and oxygen, and the natural gas combusts into flame. The one thing about the gas boiler attached to the gasifier is that it is a larger boiler than the one on the other side of the facility, where this one is only 40,000 pounds an hour compared to 50,000 pounds an hour on the other side. This is due to the lower BTU content of that synthetic natural gas. You need a larger heat exchange surface in order to receive all that heat. Since we are producing heat at this facility, we didn't figure it made much sense to provide mechanical cooling or air conditioning to the entire plant. So instead what we have is we have 4 large exhaust fans, and then below all the windows in the front of the plant we have louvers that can be opened so that we can actually provide a breeze coming through this plant. while it won't necessarily be comfortable in the middle of summer, it will be livable and workable. So let's go take a look at our back pressure steam turbine. This would be our back pressure steam turbine. 3 of our 4 boilers here on site produce steam at 150 pounds per square inch, which is the pressure that campus requires. We do have one that is a high pressure boiler that produces steam at between 600 and 650 pounds per square inch. That's high pressure steam is then run through this back pressure steam turbine to extract electricity off of that additional pressure. The outlet of this steam turbine is 150 pounds to match the other boilers. But in typical electrical generation, you'll put 100 units of fuel in, take your 33 units of electricity off, and throw the other 67 away. With this, because we are doing it as a cogeneration process, we pull our 33 units of electricity off and export the remaining heat off to campus for use. This allows us to provide very efficient electricity and low cost. This will generate electricity for roughly 2 cents a kilowatt hour compared to typical market prices of between 8 and 14 cents a kilowatt hour. So it's very cost effective, and that's because we have a product for that steam that is not needed by this process. This would be how thick the gasifier is. This is not only to keep the heat in the gasifier, but also to keep the oxygen out. Inside this gasifier can reach over 1,300 degrees, so it's especially important that we have a very thick surface to maintain that heat inside the gasifier. Once the fuel comes into the plant, it drops through this rotary feed, which provides that airlock, so that way from that process forward is a low oxygen environment. From there, it drops into this feed bin where we have 2 screw augers that distribute the fuel across the day bin, and then 10 feed screws that feed the fuel from that day bin into the gasifier. These gasifiers, while fairly automated, is very simple in that it is all driven by air. So all we have is dampers to control where the air is moving. And if we need more synthetic gas, you just give it more air, the fuel burns quicker, and then you end up with more gas to combust to provide more steam. This has a very quick response time compared to our old coal burning facility that had a fairly slow response time. In order to start the process, what we do is we feed fuel into this gasifier, we add some fuel to it, and then light it with a torch and basically create a small campfire inside. Then we close these doors, slowly reduce the oxygen level to the point that the full combustion stops and the synthetic gas production begins. So let's go see where the ash ends up at the end. Here we have our ash storage area. We have 2 fully enclosed containers that store our ash here on site. Here we receive on average 5 truckloads of fuel 5 days a week, or 25 truckloads per week. These containers will fill up about once every other week. So you can see how much that fuel settles down over time, where it's almost 50 truckloads of fuel that will fit in one of these containers. So let's head outside and take a look at our other equipment. This is the second stage of our emission controls equipment. This is our electrostatic precipitator, or an ESP. This uses an electric field to capture any remaining dust particles that may have made it through the first stage of our emission equipment. You will notice that the stack on this is only 80 feet tall compared to our previous stack height of a little over 130 feet. A rule of thumb in air permitting is that the dirtier you are, the taller your stack is, So by being able to reduce our stack height shows that this is a much more environmentally friendly and clean process. So let's go over and take a look at our solar panels. Here we have our solar arrays. On site here we have 2 solar arrays that are 10 kilowatts each. These also track the sun in 2 directions to maximize their power output. While these are 10 kilowatts apiece, or 20 kilowatts total, compared to the steam turbine you saw inside that was 650 kilowatts. While these are much smaller, these produce a high value power compared to the generator inside, as these produce the most amount of power in the middle of the day when there's the greatest demand on the electric grid. So let's head over and take a look at our truck scale. Here we have our truck scale. So we weigh our fuel trucks both in and out, and then our operators inside will take a sample and do a moisture test on it so we know exactly how many BTUs we actually received at this site. Here at this site, the drier a fuel is, the more value it has to us, as we're paying for more fuel and less water. So let's go take a look at our fuel storage and our fuel that we actually have received so far. Here we have our fuel for the plant. You will notice that it is a couple of different sizes of wood chips. Using a gasification technology allows us a much more fuel flexible process where we can accept fuel from 2.5-inch chips all the way down to 1/8 of an inch. And then moisture content can vary from 50% down to 5%. So with this, the plant will operate on wood chips for the first year of operation, after which we have the ability to test different fuels and use different fuels as they become certified by our new Center for Clean Energy Research and Education as appropriate for gasification technology. We currently do have a 5-year fuel contract, and then after that we have the ability to go look for some additional and new fuel sources to power this plant going into the future. So let's take a look at the truck tipper next. Well, here behind me is how we get the fuel out of our trucks. After the trucks have come in and weighed, they back up onto this platform behind me, and then the truck driver will get out and secure his cab, and then this entire platform will raise up at over a 60-degree angle and empty all the fuel into this hopper. This entire process takes about 5 minutes, and then once it's in the hopper, this system can process about 3 truckloads per hour. So that allows the truck driver to head off and collect some more fuel while we continue to process the load. So let's take a look at where it goes after this. Once the fuel has left the truck, it comes up this belt conveyor where we have a magnetic belt separator to remove any nails or screws that potentially may have been in the fuel. After that, it continues on up into this building behind me, which houses a screening operation. As noted earlier, we can accept up to 2.5-inch chips. This will screen out particles larger than that. And then we also have a regrinding operation that will take the few parts that may be oversized, regrind them and run them back through the screening operation until they meet the size requirements. This is not sized such that it can do an entire truckload of fuel, but for the small pieces here and there, it works very well. So next, let's take a look at how we get our fuel out of our storage building. Well, once we've got our fuel in the storage building, this is how we get it out. This is North America's largest traveling screw reclaiming auger. This was added to the design when we changed from a vertical storage to a horizontal fuel storage system.
when they first proposed adding this to the system, we said that we wanted to see one of these that had been in operation. We saw a potential failure happening while it's under this entire pile of fuel, which would be difficult to get to and very difficult to repair. There was another one found in Canada, but it had only been in operation for a week. And so a couple people from the university flew over to Stockholm, Sweden to see one of these in operation. There they have a facility that is roughly 10 times the size of our renewable energy center, and it provides all the heating for the city of Stockholm. Theirs has been in operation for over 10 years, and their operators stated that they really had no maintenance problems with it whatsoever. So with that, we had the confidence to bring that into our design. So as the fuel burns down in the gasifiers will call for more fuel, the belt will start up, and then this screw auger will begin turning to pull fuel out of the pile. This entire thing travels along this track top and bottom, and it will take it approximately 24 hours to make a single pass across this building. And with that, let's go take a look at our fuel oil storage, which provides the third level of backup for this facility. Here we have our fuel oil storage tank. This provides the third level of fuel here at the plant. So after biomass, then we have natural gas, and finally we have fuel oil. This storage tank holds 49,000 gallons of number 2 fuel oil to provide a backup to the biomass and the natural gas. This will provide the heat for campus for 3 days in the middle of winter. So in the event that we are not able to receive biomass and we are not able to use natural gas from the grid as it may be needed elsewhere, we can rely on this fuel oil tank to provide additional heat. And then during those 3 days, we can either receive more trucks of biomass, return to the natural gas grid, or get additional trucks of number 2 fuel oil into the site. So next, let's go take a look at one of the other 22 energy conservation measures that were done as part of this overall $80 million project. Here we have one of the other 22 energy conservation measures that were installed as part of this Renewable Energy Center project. This is our new campus high voltage switchyard. The university used to receive electricity from the grid from 3 different locations at 12,000 volts and 4,000 volts. With this, we now accept it at 1 point, saving on the customer charges, and by receiving it at 69,000 volts, we're able to take advantage of better delivery service rates to allow us to pay for the switchyard over time. So next, let's take a look at our natural gas feed coming into our plant. Well, here behind me is our natural gas main coming into our plant. This was a partnership opportunity with our local utility company, as they were going to be running a new gas main directly in front of our plant to serve more of the community. So we partnered with them to enable us to connect to that new gas main coming forward. So let's head to the front of the plant to conclude our tour. I want to thank everyone for coming on this virtual tour of our Renewable Energy Center here at Eastern Illinois University. Feel free to contact us if you have any further questions. Thank you.